To end this 6-year anniversary, I have one more student capsule and the story behind it to share with you. But first, I want to thank the student community for their constant love, support, and encouragement they show new students. I wish I could have shown all your capsules. And this 6 years, this amazing 6 years, could not have been possible without you. Okay, let's see another beautiful capsule and how it came to be. This time I was chatting with Christina from the US. She was one of our first students. So she's been with us for many, many years and she has a lot to share. Welcome, Christina.
This would have been 5, 6 years ago. And I was, I guess, having a pretty typical issue where I just had a lot of clothes. And I realized that I wasn't wearing as many of them as I thought I should be. I just couldn't put a finger on why that was. I think I was starting to hear a lot more about how clothes are made and where they go once they are no longer wanted and all the issues surrounding that. And it just made me start to really think about what was in my closet and how I was spending my resources and why I wasn't wearing certain clothes. Felt like that was such a waste. So I started doing research and watching YouTube videos, and I saw your video about wear all your clothes. And you did a series of,
It was my first video, actually. So
oh, was it really?
Me from the beginning. It's the first video, literally.
So nice. And it was so simple because you just took a very few pieces and showed how you could wear them in multiple ways. And you made it so fun, and the video editing was really fun. And I was like, that's a great idea.
Oh my God.
So I started experimenting with that with my own clothes and going, okay, if I take, 2 bottoms and 3 tops, and then, I took the challenge basically. And all the other YouTube videos, especially at that time when capsule wardrobes were like a really popular thing, we're all focused on neutrals and specific types of pieces that you had to have. Like you have to have a tank top and a t-shirt and and I was like, well, but I don't really wear that.
I had the same. Like from all these lists, I'm like, I don't want to wear any of this. Wear pencil skirts, blazers. No, I don't want this. Yeah.
Through that, I started experimenting on my own and just testing things out and taking notes. And then I realized that I could really use a little more information and a little more creativity. So then the opportunity came along to join your class. And it was really great because it covered such a wide range of topics. And that's where I really got into the whole what colors work with you and what cuts work with you and identifying what your style is. And even though have a background as a visual artist, I'd never really thought about color in terms of my own using myself as like the palette.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how you have to think about it. Yeah.
And so it was completely new and unique because I was like, okay, so I have to limit the colors to what work. And it made complete sense to me. I don't know. I think the biggest realization I had after taking the class was that I'm not suited to black, which is, it's kind of one of those advices you hear so much. Everyone can wear black. Especially as I've gotten older. I think when you're younger, it's easier to wear whatever color and not notice it as much. But when you get older, you start noticing the subtleties a little more.
Yeah, exactly. And you are a summer type, right? If I remember correctly.
And took time to evolve because you don't want to just go and toss out everything out of your wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, and there are certain pieces that I just adore and can't part with for whatever reason. So they just stay, even if they aren't perfect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we all cheat a little bit. That's okay. Don't need to be perfect. Almost perfect is enough.
Right, exactly. The other thing that was really helpful is the online community, because you can see such variety of wardrobes and what the other students are doing and get a lot of inspiration from that. And I was just tickled seeing everyone's wardrobes. And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought of combining things like that before. Or, just seeing even the size of people's wardrobes and how different they were and how their lifestyle played into it. It's all been very valuable. And the fact that you keep adding classes and that you participate in the community, I'm like, okay, I'm never going to leave. I just.
Oh, wow. And I'm now curious because I think we have this saying that creative people can't really limit themselves in terms of colors or styles. I hear it all the time, but I love all the styles. I love all the colors. I'm so creative. I'm so unique. How should I do this? And I'm always like, I don't know. For me, it's different. I am creative, of course. We're all creative. It doesn't mean that you have to just embrace everything. How was it for you?
I think being creative, you actually do have to limit your choices to be creative. Even if you look at a Jackson Pollock painting, where it's like, oh, he just splashed everything on there. Well, no, he didn't. Everything is a very specific method and style. He didn't use, paint one corner in a cubist manner and then go over here and paint like, an abstract expressionist over here and then do realism over here. He had a very complete picture and unified style by limiting how he chose to use the paint and the canvas. And I think that's true of any creative endeavor. You have to limit yourself. And that really helps you understand better the rules that you're working with, which ones you can break. There's only so much you can do with clothes. They have to be able to fit your body, but but there's a lot of room in that. Sometimes you feel maybe a little bit sad, like, oh, but I love black. But that doesn't mean you have to cut something out altogether if you really love it. You just have to find a different way to incorporate it in accessories, or just embrace it and say, well, I know it's not my best color and I'm going to wear it anyway. I mean, that's up to you.
No, of course. Of course. I think in our community, especially, we have so many people like that, especially when they just starting out, they're like, no, I'm not perfect. Everything I have is not perfect. My wardrobe is not perfect. And I'm like, okay, calm down, calm down. Everything is going to be fine. Just calm down. No one starts with perfect. You took the course knowing that there is something is going on and you need to fix some things. So now you know what you need to fix and you just take a small step forward.
I think it's actually harder to be so-called perfect the more you have in your wardrobe. It's much easier to narrow something down and just select a few things that really work well together. And you can feel maybe a little bit more positive about that, saying, oh, these really work well together. And then maybe you just grow from there.
Yeah. Well, this is the perfect timing actually to show and talk a little bit about your capsule. You made a mood board.
And this was part of the community inspiration I got. That having a mood board really forced you to hyper focus on the things that are the most striking to you the things that are the most inspiring and to take inspiration from that and to really ask questions as to, well, why do I like that picture? And what is it about that? Not just to pin, but but to
Yes.
start asking questions about, specifics. I like to incorporate art and color as well as outfits in my mood board. And so I have a Diebenkorn piece up there, and below is a shot from a Kusama exhibit. That was more of just a literal mood piece. It doesn't really have to do with the colors. I just really like the mystery. I try to include pictures that are in my color palette for the most part, but obviously the gentleman wearing the orange pants isn't really a summer type.
Yes, he wears more like a spring outfit.
Indeed. But I just really love the vibe of that picture.
And I like that because you are our student for so many years, I can already recognize some of the items and I can say like, oh, she kept this one and then this is a new one. Like this purple pants, are they new?
Oh, yes. Those were made to order from an Etsy shop. They're linen pants. And I did my research. So the material they use is ethically sourced. You have to wait a while because it takes some time to make what you order, but you can request tailoring and get them made to fit you perfectly. And they weren't expensive. You would think something like that would cost hundreds of dollars, and it really didn't at all. It was very reasonable. I finally feel like I'm in a place where I don't feel like I have gaps that I need to fill. I feel very comfortable. I still need to occasionally weed out clothes that are older, that either they've gotten too worn and they're not really repairable, and things like that, just regular maintenance. And I still make mistakes. So there are still some pieces that I've gotten that I'm like, oh, well, that didn't work out the way I thought. But, I just find ways to either resell them or recycle them or reuse them in some manner. In fact, some of the clothes that I've had the longest, I got years ago in a little shop in Athens, Georgia. It's a shop that sells vintage, but also they take vintage clothes and remake them. So it's a woman-owned business, and, everything I could want. And I've gotten a few pieces over the years that were like vintage that they had on. They're the kind of vintage that isn't like the name brand high-end vintage. They're like they're not going to be quite as maybe not as long lasting, maybe a little more quirky than some of the higher end, curated vintage shops.
It doesn't even matter all this like brands, not brands. It doesn't matter at all, like how much you pay for clothes, or doesn't matter. As soon as you find something you really love to wear and you enjoy it every day, it's like, that's it. That's the success.
I think one of the important things about the class actually is taking the attention away from the argument that slow fashion and sustainability isn't affordable, and that if you're working on a budget, you can't participate for some reason, or that you need to be guilty for purchases you've made in the past or mistakes you've made. It's about learning and moving forward. It's not about criticizing what you did in the past, or you can't change that. So what's the point?
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
And it's everyone's planet. We need to take care of it.
We share it, yes. What are your thoughts on this capsule? Pretty inspiring, right? If you ever wanted to create your own beautiful capsule full of exciting outfits, please go check our website wonder-wardrobe.com. For this 6-year anniversary, we've prepared a very special gift that will make joining us so much easier. But you will have to hurry because it will disappear on September 11 at midnight. I'll see you in the classroom.